Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, my friends. How are you doing tonight? Come on in, come on in. We're talking about insulin resistance tonight. Yes, the insulin resistance of it all. hmm So come on in, my YouTube friends. Hello, hello, Felicia Marie B. Thanks for coming in tonight. Thank you, thank you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. Let's talk about insulin resistance tonight. Yes. This is with look, this is another Curious with Kim episode. And yes, I think we should learn a little bit more about resistance because there are a lot of people that may have insulin resistance and do not even know that they have it. Hello, Al. How are you doing? Thanks for coming in tonight. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So I want to talk about insulin resistance tonight. It's something that a lot of us deal with. Some people don't know. Some people know. For a type 2 diabetic, you do definitely have some insulin resistance, or maybe a whole lot. Okay, and have lived with it for years. And so, I would love to, try to help, the communities know whether your weight loss, whether you're just better health, someone else in your family that has dealt with some issues with health, but just understanding insulin resistance, in its just, I'm not going to say in its entirety, but just to know a little bit better. It's awesome to be able to know more about health. And I know growing up, a lot of times we did not understand things. A lot of times the internet was not available for a lot of us, and maybe we did not understand things from our doctors and everything. So I think it's good to, since we do have the wherewithal to find out more information, why not? You hear people talk about, say diabetes and other ailments, but where does it come from? Where did it start? How did it get up to that point where now you have diabetes and it's something that you can never get rid of, per se. Okay, that's what the doctors say, right? So yeah, I want to talk about that tonight. So I thought that was good. So insulin resistance is you know kind of like the step that happens before you go full blown diabetes. So I want to talk about that. So thanks for coming in, Sweet Life Squad. Greatly appreciate it. If for some reason you are not a part of the Sweet Life Squad, go ahead and click that button that says subscribe. Yes, like this live. I greatly appreciate it. Share it out to someone that you may know that may have insulin resistance or diabetes. Yes, I have diabetes type 2. And of course, I developed it over years of time, because a lot of times you will have insulin resistance for a long time. And so not realizing how do you even figure out how you have um or the symptoms of insulin resistance is what I would like to talk about, and things of that nature. But yes, thanks for coming in. um yeah, so tonight it's what is insulin resistance, what it is, so you can understand that, what um or who is most at risk for it, what's the early signs of it, and then what happens if we don't treat it, which, like I said, one thing is type 2 diabetes, developing that, and then can it be reversed, and then what are practical things in our lifestyle think changes that we can make to help us improve insulin, to get to become more insulin sensitive. Okay, because we actually were, we were born with insulin sensitivity, right? So the insulin is able to get where it's supposed to be at. Everything is working well, and it's in the body, working like a well-oiled machine. Is what I normally reference it to. But over time, depending on how we're eating, depending on some other things, you know, it will, we will, some of us will develop insulin resistance, and then some may just keep that, and it never goes into type 2 diabetes, and some unfortunately develop type 2 diabetes. So yeah, I think it's very important to talk about, especially within our community, And definitely obesity, if you're, for some reason obese, morbid obese, whatever, you definitely can, develop that. Okay. A lot of us are insulin resistant, like I said, and don't even know it. So let me jump in this chat real quick and see who's talking to us or who's here. All right. Fantastic. Thanks for asking. Great, Al. Thanks for coming in again. Hello, Mia. How are you doing? Grant, hello. How are you doing? All right. So I'm going to get right into it today. And everybody's just saying hey to one another. So yes, and I found as I was researching this, because this is curious with Kim. Some things, of course, I knew about already, but some things, I was a little curious about. I did hear a video that I was looking at, and Miss Betty White. I'm not sure if you all know her. She had mentioned a little bit about having a hump in the back, okay, like at the neck line. And so you wonder where that came from. Some people don't know what it is, but that's insulin resistance, y'all. And so I was talking to somebody about it, and we kind of talked a little bit about it, a little bit more. It's like, oh, that would be a good Curious with Kim conversation to have. But not only that, just knowing insulin resistance. Anyway, I was already going to talk about insulin resistance at one point, so I figured, hey, why not? Since this subject has come up, why not talk about it? So thank you, Betty White, if you're listening, which you normally are. All right. So anyway, so let's go into this conversation. So insulin is a hormone, okay, made by our pancreas. So everyone has a pancreas that was blessed with one, right? And so you have insulin, and it actually is a hormone. And so what it does is it's supposed to move the sugar that we eat. So when we eat, anything that's a carb or or maybe drink something that has sugar in it, then of course it gets on your tongue and then it starts going into your bloodstreams, okay, and into your cells. That's how it's supposed to work, okay, and then at some point out of the body. So it also gives the body that sugar that we or the carbs that we intake, that gives the body energy. Okay, that's our main energy source, is the sugar. All right. So if you notice, a lot of times you've heard like when you exercising, you may be weightlifting or you're going to walk or you're going to do some cardio. It's good to make sure you have some carbs in you so that you can have enough energy to do and perform well. And, whatever exercise you're doing. I'm not sure if you heard that, but if you haven't, there you go today. You got it from me first. So, but with insulin resistance, your cells stop responding properly to insulin. That's the issue. Okay. Again, we were insulin sensitive. However, over years, because of all the sugars that we've eaten, or drank over time, carbs turn into sugar as well. So even if you're a person say, I don't do sugar like that, I don't do white sugar or, table sugar, even if you're doing brown sugar, even if you're doing, the artificial sugars, whatever it is, it still can turn into, something that can help your, body create energy. Okay. And so that you can perform what you need to perform. But sometimes we take in a little too much. And so therefore, over time, if we're continuously taking in too much, then the sugar doesn't know where to go. Okay. In your body, which I talked about a little bit before as well. But of course, I'm going to talk about it because that's something that I deal with every day. Okay. Type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance, right? So as I kept, doing what I was supposed to do as far as eating is concerned, once I got on my better health journey, I started eating, better foods, choosing, the better foods that's for my body, the ones that serves me best. Then I became more insulin resistant per what my doctor stated, I guess, as well as my blood work and everything. But I still deal with it. Okay. And so, the reason why they say, well, one of the reasons why they say, if you're diabetic, you'll always be a diabetic, because just as quick as it goes down, it can come, my A1C or my blood sugars, it can go up, that much faster. So that's why they're like, oh, once a diabetic, always a diabetic. And I don't wish diabetes on anybody. Okay. No sickness really, but if you are, say, insulin resistance, but you're not diabetic yet, we can catch it. Okay, even if you're pre-diabetic, and as long as you're not diabetic, it can be reversed. Okay, and therefore you won't have that issue if you can become more insulin sensitive. Okay, which means that the insulin that your body produces, because of the sugar that you eat, because of the glucose, that's in your body, it makes sure that it's, going into the right cells at the right time. And then, like I said, it is excreting out of the body at some point. Okay. And so when you have insulin resistance, it takes a long time for that process to happen. Much longer it should, like double the amount of time or even longer. Okay. So like we're supposed to, our body, when we eat, it's supposed to, between 6 and 9 minutes, it should go back down, where our glucose levels are back, in the range that it should be. And so with people that have diabetes or even insulin resistance, it takes a little longer because for some reason that sugar, that glucose is not going into the cells properly. It's taking a longer time to get where it's supposed to be, or again, it's all over the place, and so it doesn't get where it's supposed to be so that it can, go out of the body in your pee, whatever. So yes, let's get into it a little bit more. Before then, I'm going to go ahead and talk, go in this chat and see what's going on in here because it is bumping. All right, so Mia says, I didn't realize pricking your finger is a different reading sometimes in a CGM. Yes, we talked about it we talked about that on Sugar Talks. Yes. When you prick your finger, Mia, it definitely gives a more accurate reading because you're using your blood. Okay, you're using your blood versus it being in the subcutaneous fat. And so that's why. Mia says, yes, weight loss with Betty White. Love her home sauna she uses. Yes. I love her little gym that she has in her room. Yes. Felicia says, I'm great, Alvin. Just okay, shopping. Thank you, Felicia, for shopping and listening in. All right, Mia says, Walmart shoppers, we have Queen Bee. Yep. And the makeup aisle. Yes, that's what she was. Hello, Gren. I said already, but that's his channel, y'all. Check him out. Go get that peach protein drink, Felicia. Right. Oh my gosh. All right, I'm trying to see what else. Hello, Cookie J. How are you doing? Thanks for coming in, sweetheart. Hope you're doing well tonight. Right. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Cookie. Thank you for coming in, honey. All right, let's see what else. Right. Exactly, Grant. It's rare that the CGM blood and the blood test match exactly. Correct. Because the CGM actually is a little behind, you know, than the blood test anyway. So yeah. All right. So Cookie says, I know it's not the same Betty White, but the name just brings up memories of Golden Girls. Yes, honey. Yes. Hello, Shiny. How are you doing? Doses of Shiny. Thanks for coming in, sweetheart. Okay, Mill says I was looking at a little finger prick machine just to get, which is a glucometer, to get an idea of how stuff affects me. I could note it in my book. Yes, so that's awesome, Mia. She is trying to make sure she is maximizing all the tools that she, is able to get, so that she can make sure that she is living a healthier, long, enjoyable life. Yes. All right, Mia. Great stuff. Yes. Prioritizing our health. And that's what we're talking about. Making sure we're prioritizing health, understanding what's going on, what could happen in the body and everything. Okay. So, of course, this channel is about better health. It's not just about weight loss. That's one component that I would love to get down to my goal weight. However, it's about health. I started my health journey, better health journey, because of my A1C going up so far, and not realizing that I was living with type 2 diabetes and not even know how long it was. that I was living with it, and also living with insulin resistance and not knowing how long I had been living with insulin resistance. So I figured, hey, if I didn't know, a person that researches all the time, honey, I might as well go ahead and talk to my Sweet Life Squad about it, because I don't want anybody on here that has not had already developed diabetes to have diabetes. So I know some people on here, they know about insulin resistance, but then there's people on here that I know, or people that will be coming to our channel to join the Sweet Life Squad at one day, at one time. They don't know anything about it. So yeah, let's go ahead on and get into it to make sure that everybody is more aware of insulin resistance. Yes. Okay. All right. So let's get into it some more, a little deeper. All right. So again, insulin resistance is a hormone. It's made by the pancreas. Okay. And so it's supposed to move sugar or glucose from the, blood itself into the cells. Okay. And so that we can have energy to perform the tasks that we need to do every day, even if it's not going to the gym or walking, or doing things at home. As far as exercise is concerned, it's the need of it all. Neat, yes. So just things that you're doing around the house, cooking, cleaning, you know looking at TV, you know, going to sleep, whatever you need to do, it gives you that energy, that those carbs, that sugar, it gives you the energy. And again, carbs, will break down to sugar, okay, at some point, right? So your pancreas is saying, oh, you're not listening to me. Nope, you're not listening to me, saying, that glucose is going into that blood, and everything. So I need to make more insulin. I need to make more insulin so that I can break down, and make sure that that glucose goes into the right cells. Okay. So now your body is working harder than it should. Okay. You often remember people say work smarter, not harder, but that's how you want your body to do too. You want your body to work smarter and not harder. Okay. And that's what we're trying to do as you know, as we're on this journey, trying to make sure that we're living better, that we're choosing better for ourselves when it comes to our health. Okay. All right. So this leads to insulin levels that are much higher than they should be. Okay. So you have high insulin levels, you have fat storage, okay, which means especially in your belly, okay, your belly fat. You seeing that, you got a real big belly or what have you, and maybe your other part of your body is not that big. Why? Maybe because you have too much, insulin resistance. Okay. Maybe your body is, insulin resistant. All right. And then also rising blood sugars. Okay. Having sugars that, blood sugars that are a little too high than what it should be. And then also you have, you can, if it continues to happen, eventually at some point, you may end up having prediabetes. Okay. And then if it continues, again, you may end up developing type 2 diabetes. So this is why it's so important to me to talk about this tonight, is because, again, it's something that I had to deal with and did not even know I was going through it. Okay. When I went to that appointment in 2024 in July 3rd, on the 3rd of July, honey, I was just going in there, for a routine wellness visit, not knowing I was going to come out of there with diabetes diagnosis. Okay. And so with that being said, again, I need to let my Sweet Life Squad know, why sit on this information instead of talking to, the people I love on YouTube about it. Okay. So I hope you enjoying this, this segment of Sugar Talks with me tonight. All right. So, and it's not all about sugar, itself. It's not all about how your body is just, well, let me say it like this. It's not all about the sugar itself, but it is all about how your body is responding to the sugar. So it's nothing wrong with eating carbs. It's nothing wrong with having, some sweet drinks here and there. You just have to prioritize your carbs in a, certain way so that you can make sure that, your sugar is not spiking too high all the time. And you want to make sure that, if you're, for some reason you're drinking, say a sweet beverage, that you are more aware of how to do these things in a more effective way. Okay. Not that you can't have it. Matter of fact, for me, I actually have to hold on. I'm sorry. So I have to, be more careful when it comes to my sugar. Now with me, because I had high, blood sugars, for a long time, I ended up having to go on a low carb, regimen to make sure that I can, not give my body so much, glucose or too much sugar, so that I, you know, um, can kind of give my pancreas a rest, so it won't have to keep producing extra insulin to try to get the glucose in the cells it's supposed to go into, so that it can excrete out the body. Okay. So I did just that, and then I was able to get my A1C back down, and I did it very vigorously to make sure that I can, get it down as soon as possible, so that I won't have any additional side effects, of having diabetes, high glucose levels. Okay. All right. So, now when it comes to who being at risk, okay, who's most at risk, you ask? You may be at high risk if you have excess weight, okay, which is like especially around your waist, okay. If for some reason that the waist is over 35 inches for a woman or over 40 inches for a man, then you are more at risk of having insulin resistance. All right. If you live a sedentary lifestyle, sorry, a sedentary lifestyle, okay, which means you're sitting most of your day, and a lot of people, especially if you're even if you're working or if you don't work, we do a lot of sitting, okay, on our butts or laying down, chilling, looking at TV or whatever. However, if you start moving around more, that's why movement is so important, so that it can help you, help the body work that sugar off, okay, work that glucose off and everything, so that your glucose won't spike when you're eating something that has, sugar in it, or if it's carby. Okay. All right. So living a sedentary life, that definitely will create some insulin resistance. All right. Eating a processed high sugar diet, that also high processed foods, high sugar, regimen, that will create insulin resistance after time. All right. Having family history of type 2 diabetes, that definitely is a marker for having insulin resistance. Okay. Having PCOS. Okay. PCOS. A lot of women deal with PCOS. Okay. So that also can bring about insulin resistance. More than likely, you have these things if you more than likely you have insulin resistance if you have the things that I'm talking about right now. All right, experience chronic stress. If you're stressing too much all the time, it creates insulin resistance, right? And if you don't get quality sleep, honey, we got to get quality sleep, because guess what? It can make you at risk of insulin resistance. And again, if you have insulin resistance, you may live with it for a long time, but eventually, if it's not controlled, reversed, then it can turn into type 2 diabetes. Okay. All right. So visceral fat, which is the fat around your organs, those, you see that fat around your belly, a lot of that is because it's visceral fat, and it's squeezing those organs. Okay. Like choking them to death, pretty much. And so that plays a huge role in why we have insulin resistance. Okay. Another thing, signs and symptoms of insulin resistance. Many people don't know they have it. Again, you don't even know you have it. I didn't know I had it. Okay. I didn't know. Even though when I found out in 2020 that my numbers, I was pre-diabetic, I didn't realize, because you can live pre-diabetic like all your life, really, the rest of your life, once you find out you have it. It may not ever turn into type 2 diabetes, but that's why they try to get you to, make sure you're exercising, at least 150 minutes a week, making sure you're eating the right foods. They talk about the food plate, me eating half your plate is veggies, and then a fourth of your plates is protein. The other fourth is carbs, good healthy carbs, that is, you know, and things like that. And then just, a little bit of healthy fats as well. They're saying that because they're trying to, make sure that we are, you know, staying insulin sensitive, where your body is able to, or your pancreas is able to produce enough insulin so that it can, lead the glucose where it's supposed to be in the cells that it's supposed to be in, and go ahead and excrete out the body when it's supposed to do it at the specific time that it's supposed to. However, when you're insulin resistance, again, we're making that body work harder than it should, because now that pancreas has to continue and continue and continue to produce more insulin to drop that, to get that glucose where it's supposed to be. Okay. So, when you overwork things, what happens? It breaks down. When you overwork them, they break down. That's pretty much anything. So you don't want to overwork it, nor do you want to underwork things. Okay. So signs and symptoms, like I said, your body changes, rapid weight gain, belly fat that won't bulge, and then your waistline expansion. Okay. Those are signs of, you may be having insulin resistance. Also, the thing I told you that Betty White was talking about on her channel one day is neck and skin changes. You may get that little, a hump on your, right on the back of your neck. And you're like, why is that hump there? For years, I have it, and I had it. It was a nice size hump, and I'm like, why is that hump there on my neck? What is going on? Do you all have that by chance? Like a little hump right at the neck and the base of the neck, and going to your back. I'm not sure if anybody in this chat is experiencing that, or somebody that has experienced that. That could be because of insulin resistance. There's another reason why it could be that way, but tonight we're talking about glucose and insulin resistance and diabetes and things of that nature. So I'm not going to go into that part. You can research that on your own if you would like to know the other things about it. But I just want to kind of mention that because I know, that's something that some people do deal with. But when I say, neck and skin changes, so the neck hump, that's changed. I didn't have that back in the day. I'm like, so when I start feeling, I'm like, why is that little hump there? What is going on? That could be insulin resistance, right? So people say, well, how do you know, before Kim, found that you had diabetes, did you have any symptoms of it? Well, once I heard that, that Betty White was talking about it, because I've always wondered, like, what is this hump? Why did this hump come? I didn't understand it. And nobody really told me why, even doctors. And then, so when she said something about it, like I said, I was talking to Felicia Marie B about it. And, it was just like, okay, I have this little hump. I'm not sure what this is all about, and, even though Felicia does not have type 2 diabetes, she definitely, it's something that's close and dear to her heart because her family has it. And so that's why I say, even though you may not have it, it's still interesting to know about, because people, your loved ones may have it. You may be insulin resistant yourself. And at some point, maybe, are you pre-diabetic or whatever, and you want to know about it so that you can, make the changes that you need. So when we say move your body, it's not just to lose some weight. It's not just, you don't want to do it just to be doing it. You want to do it intentionally so that you can have better health. That's why we keep talking about moving our bodies. That's why we keep talking about the diabetes of it all. That's why I tell my story, my testimony, because it is my testimony. And everybody has not heard about it. So I'm going to let you know about it. Okay. Every now and again, every chance I can get. So, because it's something that God, he actually blessed me to be able to find out about me having diabetes, because I would have just kept going if I didn't get nudged to go on to that doctor to get that wellness visit. It was during, that, during the pandemic and all that stuff was going on. I was like, I don't want to go to no doctor with all this. I don't need no, big C word. I don't need it. I don't want to go there, So that fear kind of stopped me from wanting to go, and hey, thank God I went, because if I didn't, no telling where I would be right now. No telling where I would be, if I would be here at all. Okay. So with the way my A1C, work or blood was reading, test. Yeah. So anyway, so also another sign of it is for your neck. It's dark, like a dark, like really really dark, colored, um, thick velvety patches. You can have that on your neck as well, or even in like the crevices of your arm. Things like that. That your skin fold. If you have skin folds, it can be there. Those things will let you know. Okay, oops, I might be insulin resistance. Okay, if the dark spots are on your neck, under your arms, okay, skin fold, any skin folds you have, that kind of areas there, that right there. If it's dark, then you may have insulin resistance. Okay, and then the strong marker of high insulin levels as well. Okay, having insulin levels that are high, that also can determine or let you know that there may be some insulin resistance there. So of course you can talk to your doctor about it. There are tests that you can take that they can give you or what have you. But yes, now when I was talking about the hump, we're talking about they call it like the buffalo hump, okay, and like I said, just like a little. Let me see if I can even show you my like. It's not as big as it was before. Let me see if you can see. Can you see? I think you can. Maybe, but it's kind of right here. So like a little tiny hump. Now before it was way bigger than this. If I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, it was much bigger than that. So again, like I told you, my doctors has told me that I've become more insulin sensitive, since I've been on my better health journey. But yes, it's just a little hump right at the base of your neck going into your back. Okay. And it just feels like fat there. That's how mine feel at least. And I'm like, why is that there? But again, this is shedding some light to me. So I want to share it with you all as well. That is another thing that, normally when you pull up, what makes you insulin resistance or what's the symptoms, that doesn't come up. I had to pull up something else to make that come up for me to see what was going on. Yes. So, if for some reason that hump is painful, it suddenly just pops up, it's painful, or it comes from muscle weaknesses, or comes with muscle weaknesses, then you want to make sure you talk to your healthcare provider immediately to rule out any other conditions that could bring, okay, which is like, for instance, Cushing's syndrome, okay, so you want to be careful with that. Mine is not like that. Mine has been on there for a while, and I guess it grew over the years. So yeah. And then also metabolic symptoms. We're talking constant fatigue, increased hunger, sugar cravings, excess thirst, frequent urination, brain fog, and skin tags. So I'm not sure if you've seen skin tags, like, somewhere on your body. You wonder, where this thing came from? That could be signs of insulin resistance. Yes. All those things are signs of insulin resistance. Okay. So, and those are called metabolic changes or metabolic symptoms that you may have. So, if I'm speaking to you all tonight, if you are, feeling or having some of these symptoms, you may want to go ahead and talk to your professional healthcare provider about it, because it could be signs of insulin resistance. Okay. So I say that, and then I say, okay, how do doctors test for it? So they do some common lab tests, that they can do for you. Fasting plasma glucose. So you'll be fasting, but they're going to check your, plasma glucose. Okay. And if it's over 100 milligrams per deciliters, then that may indicate you're pre-diabetic, which means you have some insulin resistance. All right. They can check your hemoglobin A1C. Okay. And that shows, like a average 2 to 3 months of where that blood sugar is. Okay. So the plasma glucose, that's when we prick our finger, or, using that CGM, it's checking that glucose, the blood glucose, or the blood sugars, we call it. And you want to make sure that it's your fasting glucose is 100 milligrams per deciliter or under. So from 70 milligrams per deciliters to 100 milligrams per deciliters. Okay. If it's over 100, then it may indicate that you're pre-diabetic. Okay. If it stays over 100, for all the time, you could be potentially diabetic. All right. So hemoglobin A1C, we just normally say A1C. All right. So your A1C again is tested, it's some kind of way when they actually, do blood work. When they do blood work, they are, they're testing, your A1C. It's the 2 to 3 months of your average blood sugars. I don't know how they can do it, but it's magnificently done. Okay. All right. And so you want to make sure that A1C, or the hemoglobin A1C, if you're in the normal range, it's going to be 5.6 or under. 5.7 to 6.4 indicates that you're pre-diabetic, and 5.7 and up would, I'm sorry, 6 point, I may have said that wrong. Let me say that one more time. So 5.6 and under, it means that you're in the normal range. You're great. You're good. You don't have to worry about, what I'm talking about tonight for yourself at the moment. If you're 5.7 to 6.4, 5.7 to 6.4, then that indicates you're pre-diabetic. Anything 6.5, 6.5 or higher, that means you are diabetic. Okay. That's your A1C. All right. And then they can also test lipid panels. All right. High triglycerides. If it's under 150 milligrams per deciliter, then, it may not indicate that you have insulin resistance, but if it's over 150 milligrams per deciliter, your triglycerides, then that's the indication you have insulin resistance. Okay. And then if you have a low HDL, low HDL. So when we say lipid panels, we're talking about cholesterols. Okay. Looking at the cholesterol and everything. There's other things too, but definitely looking at cholesterol. All right. So low HDL or high triglycerides. Now I know for those people that are on GLP-1 medication, even if you did have high triglycerides, most of us have gone down back to the normal range, but then that HDL and LDL could be potentially hit, and that still means that you have some insulin resistance, or you may have some. So like for me, I had mentioned to you all at one point that when I got on the GLP-1 medication and started using it, my HDL went down. And for women, you want it, to be, at 50 or more. And so mine went down to I think it was 46. And so then, that's okay. I'm insulin resistant. I have some insulin resistance. That's another indication that I did have that. Even though my triglycerides was looking real pretty. Okay. Really quick. It was really pretty. All right. So, so at that point I was trying to get my HDL back up. So that's why I started taking those fish, omega 3s, fish oil, as well as the CoQ10. I take one pill that's together. Okay. And so that has helped me, get my HDL back up, which HDL is a good cholesterol, the cholesterol that we want to have, or what have you. And then you have that LDL, which is it's the bad cholesterol. That's what they call it. And so it's something that you don't want a lot of. Okay. And so sometimes fasting insulin is tested, but it's not always tested. Okay. And then again, you have an oral glucose tolerance test they can give you as well. And then what happens if it's not treated, honeys? What happens if it's not treated, Sweet Life Squad? Insulin resistance can progress to prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, fatty liver disease, increased cardiovascular risks, and chronic inflammation. Okay. Those are the things, if it's not treated, those are the things that you can, experience. And it doesn't happen overnight. It develops over some years, over a period of time of years. Okay. It can take a while before it develops, but that's why you want to know about this stuff. This is why I try to teach you this, or not teach you, but talk to you about this stuff. Okay. This is why I want to inform you about what I've learned about it, what I've researched, or what have you. And why I chose to put it on my Kurious with Kim, series. All right. And then, so how do we get here? It usually is a combination of high sugar and refined carbs. Again, high sugar or refined carbs, having a sedentary lifestyle, not just chilling, ain't doing a whole lot of movement. Okay. Chronic stress, stressing out too much. Now, we're going to have some stresses, y'all. Life be lifing, and they don't care who it hits, right? But you have to know how to manage that stress. Okay. Put things in place so that, stress won't get to you. It won't overwhelm you, and especially for long periods of time. Okay. All right. And then remember cortisol, because that's what, when you start stressing a lot, that means your cortisol is going high in your body. And then it raises your blood sugars, which is not good. Okay. And then poor sleep. We talk about sleep. We got to get more sleep. And I'm preaching to the choir here, honey. More sleep, more sound sleep. Okay. And then it could also be your genetics. For some reason, like you may have a history of type 2 diabetes. And again, if you do, you more likely to develop it. You're more likely to develop it yourself. So you're going to have that insulin resistance, and you're going to have that diabetes at some point if you don't be careful. So we want to all make sure that we're doing whatever we need to do, all the things that we need to do to make sure that we do not have insulin resistance, or if we have insulin resistance, that we are reversing it, that we become more insulin sensitive. If for some reason you were diagnosed with insulin resistance or prediabetes, you want to try to reverse that as soon as possible, to get back to living your sweet healthy life. You're going to live your sweet healthy life anyway. Okay. But I'm saying, like, to reclaim that health, that best health, okay, for yourself, so that you can live a long and prosperous life. All right. And then I know some people may ask, can insulin resistance be cured? Can insulin resistance be cured? Okay. Yes, it could be cured. It can be cured. Okay. The word cure, quote unquote, is a tricky word. Okay. So it can often be reversed or significantly improved. Okay. Especially if you treat it early, which is why, again, I want to talk about it. That's why I'm bringing it up to us, so that if we can, find out what's going on with our bodies, check out these symptoms that we may have, or what have you, the things I've talked about today, and, see if, it fits your situation. And if it does, then you want to make sure you try to, reverse it as soon as possible. Okay. So it won't develop into type 2 diabetes. And then even with type 2 diabetes, we also can improve our insulin sensitivity dramatically with, making sure that we, in the appropriate lifestyle change that we need, eating better, choosing better carbs, for ourselves. So don't eat as many simple carbs. Try to eat more of the complex carbs. There's nothing wrong with eating carbs. There's nothing wrong with eating fruit and, and a little rice here and a little, mashed potatoes or baked potato. There's nothing wrong with eating that stuff. It's just pair it with, a good veggie, a good green leafy veggie, some high quality protein, some high quality fats, and, make sure that you're eating that stuff, so that together versus just eating, say, the carb by itself. That's how you can help those spikes and increases in insulin. Okay. Now, the way my dietitian told me is I need to make sure that I am, eating veggies first. Try to get my veggies in first. I don't have to eat the whole, plate of veggies, but I'm just saying, eat a few bites of veggies first before I start eating some carbs. Or if I don't have veggies on my plate for some reason, eat some of that, protein before I put those carbs in my mouth. If for some reason I have one thing, like if I may eat something, like say something that has a carb and I don't have like more protein, a second thing of protein, a second thing of veggies or whatever, a plate of all of that stuff, and I just have one thing. Say if I eat an apple, that's why I go for gala apples that have 4 grams of fiber in it, because at least if I eat it, I have that fiber that's in it as well, that still will hopefully not make my blood sugar spike. But I always pair my apple normally with my pecan. Okay, because pecans is healthy fats as well as fiber. Okay, it has fiber in it. So I have my apple that has, if I have a 4 ounce apple, gala apple that I get from Aldi, it's 4 grams of fiber in it usually. And then I have pecans or pecans, and it also has some fat in it, and it also has 3 grams of fiber in it as well. So you got fiber in the apple, fiber in the pecans, and boom, that makes that apple not spike my glucose as much, or my insulin having to, or my pancreas having to work, a lot more than it should, because I just only ate something, say like some candy that doesn't have any nutritional value in it, but it's yummy, yummy, yummy to me. But, even if I eat a piece of candy, I normally will make sure I'm eating something else. Like I said, pecans. If I decide to eat a little piece of candy or a little piece of cake or something like that, I don't gorge out on it. But if I, for some reason, want it and decide I want to, have it, and I decide to eat it, then I make sure I have something to go with it, or eat it, after my, dinner. And I make sure my dinner, has, the right amount of veggies and protein in it as well before I eat that cake or that candy or cookies or whatever it's going to be. All right, let me get in this chat, honey. Well, before I do that, let me go ahead and just talk a little bit. I got one more thing to talk about, and then I'm pretty much done. Okay, so how to improve, because I can't leave you just like that. How to improve or reverse insulin resistance. One way you can do that is through nutrition, which I kind of talked about, on my personal, health journey. But whole foods help, higher fiber, reduce processed carbs, lower your added sugars, protein with your meals. Okay, that can help. Okay, when it comes to nutrition, even losing 5 to 7% of your body weight can make a huge difference for us. Okay, losing that 5 to 7% of your body weight definitely makes a difference. And again, when I talked to my doctor about it, he said I was insulin resistance. If you're thinking about, if I'm looking at what I've researched and found out about insulin resistance, then yes, that does make me know. This gives me insight also that I did become more insulin sensitive. Okay, insulin sensitive. All right, so exercise. If you exercise, that helps. 30 minutes, 5 days a week. That's the 150 minutes a day. I'm sorry, a week. That's 150 minutes a week. Walking after meals help. Okay. Strength training improves insulin sensitivity and muscles. Trying to gain muscles. Okay. That equals glucose. It's a glucose sponge. So it helps, make sure that glucose gets where it's supposed to be in those cells. Okay. And excreting out of your body. Sleep also 7 to 9 hours nightly. We're not just saying this, y'all. This is why we have to do this thing. This is another reason why. Okay. We want to make sure that we're sleeping so that we can hopefully improve insulin resistance or continue to be insulin sensitive. All right. Poor sleep increases insulin resistance, just point blank, period. All right. And then also stress management. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Prayer, journaling, breath work, where you're breathing in and out, Wusan, knowing how to breathe, breathing, inward, holding that breath, and then slowly releasing it, for so many, seconds or whatever. That helps. Also, boundaries, creating boundaries, honey. We talked about boundaries before, with Kurious with Him. Yes, we need to make sure we having boundaries, okay? Not letting people stress us out, not letting people overwork us, not doing it because I'm not letting them overwork me, right? If I choose to do it, then that's me doing it. They may ask me, but that's me. Do I need to say no today because I haven't, did what I need to do for myself, taking care of myself, loving myself, or what have you. I just don't want to get overwhelmed, right? I don't want to create more stress on my body. So I got to make sure I am doing what I need to do to make sure that, I am making sure that I'm, keeping insulin resistance at bay. Okay. And then chronic cortisol equals higher blood sugars. Chronic cortisol equals higher blood sugars. And then the next or the final thing I want to talk about is medication. If for some reason you need medication, then you need to take medication. If your doctor prescribes it for you, you can, you should take it. Three medications, well, I'll say two medications that helps you in this effort. Metformin is one, even though I know a lot of people have issues with the metformin, have been reporting that, but also GLP-1 medications definitely help as well in this effort of trying to make sure that we stay insulin sensitive or we reduce the insulin resistance. Okay. And then, of course, anything that your doctor is giving you that is a guide that he can give you or she can give you to help you with it, you can use that as well. Lifestyle plus medical support definitely works hand in hand. It works hand in hand. Okay. And then, for as the neck hump is concerned, can it go away? It causes by insulin resistance. If it is caused by it, weight loss helps, lowering your insulin levels help, strength training helps, and posture exercises help. So wall angels, that helps, with that posture exercise. All right. So in some cases, medical procedures are considered, but the root cause is what matters most. And that's because you have insulin resistance. So you need to make sure you're getting that under control. Okay. That's so just in closing of what I'm talking about today and what I've researched and gathered and and studied and everything. um when we talk about insulin resistance, if you do have it, of course, there's not any shame to it. It is what it is. But I want to make sure that you are more aware of it. And I know, we're in the chat. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for, chatting it up, in the chat amongst each other. I'm going to that in a second, but I just want to get this out just in case there's somebody, out listening at it and, they have only a certain amount of time or whatever. And they're just here for the knowledge, okay? Not for the shenanigans that I love so much. So insulin resistance is common, especially in our community. Definitely in our community, our better health community, our GLP-1 community, it's very common. It's not as a lot of people may not, like I said, know it, but there are a lot of people in here that may have it. So I would just want to make sure we're again. And then we're not powerless. Realize that we are not powerless. There are things that we can do. Progression is key. Making sure you're consistent with, doing all the things you need to do. That's key. Also, giving yourself grace. That's key. Okay. Those three things: progress, consistency, as well as grace. Those three things will help you, in your effort to make sure that you don't stay insulin resistant or that you don't become insulin resistant. All right. Becoming the healthier her or him starts with understanding what's happening inside our bodies. Okay. So that's that. So let me see. I'm going to go back in this chat real quick. All right. So Mia says, I'm trying to learn how to get over 200 pounds lost on Zepbound. Got to figure all the tips in. Yes. So she wants to know the tips that she can. And that's why she's making sure that she's, using all the tools that she can to make sure she has, she creates better health for herself. And that's awesome, Mia. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Rooting for you, honey. All right. Felicia says, Grant, I got the strawberry and cream one to try. Hopefully it's better. Sorry for the late response. All right. I know Felicia Marie B was in the store. All right. Kim J. Mia says, I heard the suggestion of pairing a protein with a carb to get a better effect when you eat by that Dr. Jason Fong. I think he called them empty carbs by themselves. I may be wrong though. Yes, and I've talked about it so many times on my channel as well about making sure I pair, the my veggies or my protein with my carbs. Yes. So I ain't just talking. I ain't just talking about it. I'm being about it. And there you go, Mia. Mr. Dr. Fong has let you know that what I'm talking about is true. Yes. All right. Grant says it's amazing how Manjaro seems to reactivate the pancreas. Yes, 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 yes. That's so true, Grant. Thank God for that. Thank God for that. When it's not working right, it's given that it's given it some extra help to make sure that the glucose is getting where it's supposed to be. All right, Cookie says, B, I think you ought to give the peach flavor a second try. All right, don't like peach over here. Me, I don't like peach at all. So besides peaches, now y'all, I was talking to Felicia Marie B, and I'm like, what happened to the fuzzy peaches? Hmm. Why don't we have fudgy peaches like that anymore? I can't find them. I think I found it one time, since I've been on my better health journey at one of the stores locally here. But most of the peaches look like nectarines. They're like very naked. They don't have the fuzz on them. And I'm like, where's the fuzzy peaches? Those are the ones that we grew up on. Those are the ones that were great. And what's up with all these different types of, fruit now? I'm like, what happened to you got the one apple, red or green? You have the peach that has fuzz on it. What is going on with all these different things? Like, I don't know. Grant says that's exactly right, Mia. I've been told the same thing. Yes, I told you the things. Like y'all listening at me? No, I'm just joking. But I don't have doctor behind in front of my name or PhD of or MD, on the back. So I understand. I understand. Yep. All right. So Mill says, okay, cool, Grant. I'm here to soak it all in and try to put what I can to use it in my situation. Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Absolutely. Makes sense, Mia. All right, so Felicia Marie B has a question. She says, why do some people have an A1C of 6 to 8 with a lot of symptoms, but others have an A1C of 12 and above with no symptoms? Hopefully that makes sense. It makes sense to me because I didn't have a lot of symptoms and my A1C was 15.1. I don't like it. I don't know why, but I can find out. Let's see. Hold on. Can I find out? Let me see. All right, so I'm just going to put in this thing. Why do some people have symptoms of type 2 diabetes and others don't? Because I don't think it's the numbers, that we need to, like trip about or whatever, but definitely just in general, why? Okay. Because some people may not fall in those categories like you were, as examples of you were asking, Felicia. All right. So type 2 diabetes develops because or based on a complex interaction between genetic predisposition, okay, and environmental factors, while some inherit a higher risk of develop insulin resistance and pancreatic beta cell failure due to lifestyle factors like diet and inactivity, which we talked about today. Others do not, often based on or because of their bodies are better able to manage insulin sensitivity and remain or maintain lower blood weight. So that's why it could happen that way. It just depends on your genetic disposition, your beta cell function, your insulin resistance versus if you're, versus obesity. All right. Lifestyle factors, age and ethnicity, and then also environmental and metabolic factors. So all these things will, be key factors that determine why some people develop type 2 diabetes and others don't, or even have symptoms of it. Hold on. Also, many have no symptoms, resulting in nearly half the people not knowing that they have it until routine checkups. And the reason why it could be because it took a while to develop, okay, because it's gradually developing in them. So little changes here and there, so you don't, recognize it. Instant compensation, okay, It could be that the pancreas may compensate for insulin resistance by producing extra insulin, keeping blood sugar levels just low enough to avoid the symptoms until the symptom fails. Okay, that's one reason. Asymptomatic hyperglycemia. Some individuals can live with high blood sugars for a long time without experiencing typical acute symptoms like increased thirst or frequent urination, which is two of the big ones, two of big symptoms that people have to deal with, to let them know that they may have some diabetic issues. Let me see. Gradual development, it says type 2 diabetes often develops over many years, allowing the body to adapt to high blood sugar levels without immediate obvious symptoms. Insulin compensation, the one I just said about it, in early stages, the pancreas may compensate for insulin resistance by producing extra insulin, keeping blood sugar levels just low enough to avoid symptoms until the symptom fails. And then also there's a subtle symptoms that says when symptoms are present, they are often easily to disregard, such as mild fatigue or subtle changes in vision. So sometimes, you vision will be changing. We're thinking maybe it's just age, but it could be diabetes. It may not just be age. So, there the symptoms that we have, a lot of things have the same type of symptoms. A lot of you know, ailments, diseases, whatever you want to call it, they have the same type of symptoms. So you may look at this and be like, oh, this could be, because of hypertension, and it could actually be because of something else, so that's why you have to really do your research. And if you're doing your research yourself on it, you definitely need to make sure you're doing, you're looking up reputable sources to kind of see where we're going with it. But not only that, that's why it's so important to make sure you go into your healthcare provider so that they can do the blood work they need to do, so that they can ask you about your family history, so they can know a little bit about what you're doing, what you're putting in your body, and things of that nature, so that they can determine what may be going on with you. Okay. All right. That's why lifestyle changes, as well as going to that doctor, is so important, which is another thing I, try to preach all the time, is making sure that you go to your doctor, making sure that you know your numbers, your blood markers, and things like that. All right. And then the key takeaways to that is early diagnosis matters, because type 2 diabetes is often silent. Okay. It could be a silent killer. Um, it this article that's from the Telegraph explains that it's important to know your risk factors and get tested, even if you feel fine. Okay. Progression, which is an article from Jackson Health Symptom, points out that some people already have kidney, eye, or nerve damage at the time of diagnosis. And then despite having no prior warning signs. And then there's detection, regular health checkups, and blood tests like your A1C, okay, getting checked, are the only reliable way to know if you have type 2 diabetes. Okay. And that's from U of Health, University of Florida Health. Okay. So, yes, there you go. Another reference is the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. Okay, that's another reference of where I got that information from. All right. So I'll let you know I'm not just talking over here. I'm, giving you some good information. All right. So Mill says, fun fact, I've learned that the average member is 5.5 inches, and the size has no bearing on being a satisfactory lover. Mel Robbins podcast had a lady on there telling all those facts. Okay. Thanks for that, Mia. All right. So Felicia says, I was insulin resistant from carbs, honey. Yes. Insulin resistant from carbs. I never cared for sweets. Okay. I like sweets, Felicia. I like sweets sometimes. Don't have to have them all the time. Just sometimes. But yeah, carbs I definitely like. Yeah. But I like meat more. I ate a lot of meat. I don't want to ever just not have meat in my body, in my life. No, I love protein. I always love protein more than any other things on my plate. But when I try to do keto, honey, look, I miss those carbs. I did. I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't know how I liked them as much as I did. So could never stay on that. at the time. I may be okay if I do it now if my sugars go back where they're supposed to, of course. All right, so Mia says, sorry, that was way out in left field, but the lady was so caring and worried. People were sad. I thought she was very kind for caring. Okay, thank you, Mia. All right. Yep, that was random, Mia. Surely was. I was like, huh? Okay. Um, she said, oh, I see, Mia. Yeah. She just sharing information, and that's fine. All right, so Mia said, I'm sorry, I need a filter. Oh my God. All right, Cookie says, B, you probably never cared for sweets because you spend so much time making honey. Right. You're burnt out on sweets. I love it. Felicia said, I definitely had the neck hump. Okay. Oh, yep, Felicia. Miss Felicia Marie B wanted me to talk about this neck hump, honey. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to just go and talk about a neck hump. And I said, let me figure out how we're going to do this. So I wanted to talk about insulin resistance at some point, and I was like, this will be wonderful. God gave it to me. Like, girl, just talk insulin resistance, period. Okay? Be led by God. Yes. Mia says, yeah, I'm going to be looking for humps now out in the wild. It'll be that neck hump, boo. I don't know about no other humps. I just know that neck hump. Me too, Mill. Y'all tripping me out. All right, so Mill says, I wonder if my dad's friend has one. Oh my goodness. He recently got his foot cut off because of diabetes complications. Now, I'm gonna tell you this. Everybody not gonna have the neck hump. Some people are, some people not. Okay. And again, not just for people that diabetes. It could be a person that's not diabetic that wind up having this little, having this hump. Like I said, it could be the hump. It could be, you have dark spots, in your crevices of your, neck, your arms, where your arm, where they like take right here, honey, right here, whatever that, right there. Um, it could be, spots, even on your, I've seen spots like on your arms before, like just little dark areas coming in your body for some reason. All right. In the bushes at work. Thank you, Miss Jen. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Miss Jen, come out of the bushes. I know I said something wrong. All right. Real says it's good to see how someone know that. I mean, what? I'm sorry. It's good to see someone know what they have and do something about it. Yes, yes. So it's not just to know about it, but it is also to do about it, right? Don't just be a doer of it. I'm sorry. You don't just be a knower of it, but you want to be a doer of it also. Right. Exactly. All right. Jen, right. All right. Mia says, hello, Jen F. Are you recovered from your night out, honey? So Felicia also says she definitely had the dark velvet areas. Yep. So she was very resistant. See, and so her, going on this better health journey, via Zepbound, and really before Zepbound, she started losing weight and trying to, take care of that health. But then she got on Zepbound, which actually helped her with a sleep apnea that she was going through, experiencing, or what have you. But it also helped her lose over 100 pounds. So yes, she's doing a great job, and so now she's more insulin sensitive as well, which is awesome. Yes, yes. Mill says I cut, and see, she's not a diabetic. Felicia's not a diabetic, so that's why again it's important to make sure you understand this stuff, right? Sure, she probably didn't know that before, So, yeah. Mill says I've been cut open in the neck area, so might be my hump isn't humping out. Is that possible? I don't know. That might be why her hump isn't humping out. Who knows? I'm not sure. What about other symptoms that I talked about, Mia? Do you have those things? And like I said, you may not even have insulin resistance. Who knows? You don't know, but I'm just giving you symptoms tonight on what could let you know that there's insulin resistance there. Okay, just things to look out for, not to scare you, just things to look out for. Good question, Mia. Yeah, I don't know about the surgery making it, go away. I'm not sure. Um, Mia says, I'm sorry, Felicia says, I think once I got my insulin resistance under control, my weight loss became more rapid, which is what, I was talking about earlier. When you have insulin resistance, it's harder to lose weight. Okay. I don't know. Is that a thing? Yeah. If that is a thing, that is a thing. All right, Cookie says, Mia, did you used to have a hump? I know not everyone who is insulin resistance gets one. Right, Cookie. Everyone doesn't get it. These are just symptoms that people have. Like I said, it's some things. Think about when, being on the GLP-1 for those who, I'm talking about GLP-1 because these people are on one, for those who are not on it and listening in, you know, think about it, y'all. GLP-1s, you don't have the same symptoms I do, or we may have some of the same symptoms, but not all the same symptoms. So with that being said, everybody's not going to have every symptoms that I called out tonight, but I'm just giving you something to look out for just in case you do have these things. So thank you for that, Miss Cookie. All right, Mia says, well, I remember at 426.6 pounds, honey, thinking, wow, there's a lot of meat there. I've not had pre-diabetes though. Well, that's awesome, Mia. That's awesome. So you may not have had that. But again, just because you don't have just because you don't have diabetes or pre-diabetes, you still may have insulin resistance. So, but hopefully not. Hello, Vanessa Grace. How are you doing tonight? Thanks for coming in, honey. All right, Cookie says, interesting. But that's great that you were never pre-diabetic. Yes, that is awesome. All right, Mia says, they've been trying and testing since the GLP-1s came out because they knew it would help me lose weight, but my numbers didn't say I was high, and that's wonderful. That's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear. That is awesome. And it's good that you go to the doctor so that you can get checked out, periodically. So that is great. Mia says, I did get some high cholesterol readings, but super high blood pressure, have fatty liver disease, and my good cholesterol was way too low. Been told to exercise more. So your HDLs were low. See that, and that is one of the symptoms of insulin resistance. So again, you may not be pre-diabetic, or what have you, and that's just one symptom. Of course, a lot of times we have more than one symptom out there, but yeah, you can ask your doctor if you want to check for insulin resistance, Mia, since I know you are, trying to be proactive with, making sure you do all the things like we say, yeah, to make sure that you are reclaiming your health. All right, so Felicia says, me too, Mia. I was told just to go ahead and see a nutritionist. Hey, we were the same type of obese, honey. Gotcha. Mia says, yeah, all that was me and smoking cigarettes, but not anymore. Praise God, not anymore. Awesome. Thank you, Jesus. All right, for that, Mia. Okay, Cookie says, ooh, stress. Very interesting. I was wondering how a couple of close relatives got diabetes because they are both fit, eat well, and are active. See, you can do all that and still develop it. Okay. It could be because of stress, and it could be they're not, sleeping right, right? It could also be because of, hereditary. It could be hereditary genetics. Okay. But stress is a part of both of their lives. So there you go. All right. Mia says, Felicia, I swear we are totally twins in obesity areas for sure. All right. Felicia says, very interesting indeed, Cookie, especially if they were fit. Right. Because just because you fit, you got people dropping like flies even when they're fit. They run every day, and they've reported that somebody has you know fell on the ground, and as a result of whatever, they actually are not they're unalive right now. Yep, and you would think that they were at the best of their shape. That doesn't always mean that the inside is good. Um, Felicia says, my obese twin, Mia. Twinning. Right. Hey, twin, can we just snap back real quick? It's going to take time. It's going to take time. Hello, Jazzy. How are you doing? Thanks for coming in, sweetheart. All right. Mia says, I've been trying to eat some more protein with my fruit. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Cookie says, oops, let me correct that. I think I have fatty liver, not fatty liver disease. Okay. 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 hmm Period, Mia. Hello, Jen again. Thank you for being here. All right. Yes, I recovered, Mia. The ladies were wonderful. Awesome. Awesome. Awesome, Jen. Our Cookie says, Jen, it's pretty neat that y'all got to meet up. I'm looking forward to someday meeting some people that I've come to know through the community. Yes. Yes, me too. Me too, Cookie. Me too. All right, Mill says definitely want to meet y'all, all y'all ladies. Yes, it would be nice to meet you too, Mill. All right, Felicia says not the naked peaches. Yes, the naked peaches. I want the fuzzy peaches. All right, hello, Brenda. How you doing? Thanks for coming in, sweetheart. Hope you got something out of what I was talking about. Jen says it was really fun to put a real face to it. Was nice. Yes. All right. Cookie says Brenda, long time no see. At least a few days, but it seems longer, honey. Cookie says I admit it was Jen. Seems forever. Mia says. Yeah, I saw y'all. Y'all look like y'all was having a good time. Jen. All right, Vanessa says, yes, Kim J, I agree. Blood work is so important. Get a complete blood plant panel. Yes. Yes, yes. Thank you, Vanessa, for that. Every 3 months, too. Grant says, yes. All right. Mia says, I thought I took those comments out the chat. I'm so sorry. I don't know why with StreamYard. And I don't know if it's just StreamYard. I heard somebody say it's StreamYard, but I'm not sure. I can't prove that. I'm not sure. But yeah, a lot of times you'll try to the moderators will try to, like remove a comment, and for some reason I still see it on my side. I'm not sure why. Grant says anything taken off here won't delete off. There you go. I didn't read that. But yeah, I heard somebody say that too, Grant. Didn't know how true it was. Good evening, Miss Linda. How you doing? Thanks for coming in, sweetheart. Good evening, Darium. How are you doing, sweetheart? Let's see. Miss Linda said, hey, everybody. Brent says, I don't have the changes in pigment from diabetes, but I do have it from, I don't know, let me see. I don't know what that is. And autoimmune disease. My hands, neck, feels, and arms, feet. My hands, neck, feet, and arms are all losing pigmentation in my skin. Sorry, I hear that. Let me see what that is. Vitiligo. Okay, vitiligo. Never heard of that before in life. Okay, so she has vitiligo. So we pray that vitiligo leaves you alone. Release her vitiligo. Okay? She wants to be free from it. All right, Dave says, how are you managing these ailments, Miss Brenda? All right, Darren says, water check. Did everyone take a sip of water? I had not at that point, but I have been since I've been on here. Hey, Teddy D, thanks for coming in, sweetheart. Uh-oh. He took a Kim's crew. Ooh, it's the Teddy D, right? All right, Brenda says, hi, Darren. I'm opting not to take any medications or therapies for the, oh, Lord, what is it called again? Vitiligo. Because while it's ugly, it's not life threatening. As for the Epstein Barr syndrome, rheumatoid arthritis, trigger, finger, and thumb, and severe lung disease are the reasons my doctor rallied to get me to try GLP-1 medications, because she seen patients with various autoimmune conditions come off medications. Yes. I know Miss Linda, she also has an autoimmune rheumatoid arthritis. And then also, I know fibromyalgia. It's been helping fibromyalgia patients as well. With like nerve conditions. Cookie says that would be wonderful if you are able to come off of some of your meds. Actually, my sister has what is it called, Lord? Fibromyalgia, and yeah, she suffers with it a lot. I know Joe as well. Was it Joe's Sleep and Slim Down journey? It may be Slim and Sleep Down, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. You know who Joe is. Yeah. Um, she has fibromyalgia as well. Yeah, and that helps. With that in that effort, the GLP-1s can. All right, Cookie says that would be wonderful if you are able to come off of some of those medications, right? Yep, and praying for you, Miss Brenda. Praying for you. Hello, Miss Nikki. How are you doing? Thanks for coming in, sweetheart. Hope you're doing well. All right, Brenda says, after starting GLP-1, it seems to treat the autoimmune conditions. Okay, so there you go. It has done that for me, so that Zepbound seems to be managing the symptoms. I'm off of blood pressure medicines and all steroids. Awesome, 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 brother. That is great. Praise God for that. She says, sweet, Brenda, right. You know, uh, that is a great thing, Brenda. I'm so happy for you. Miss Nikki says it was rumored that Michael Jackson's had vitiligo. Okay, thank you that for that, Nikki. I didn't know that. All right, Miss Nikki says you are going through a lot, Brenda. Hugs, honey. Yes, but look at her. She is, combating these ailments that she has, and that is so sweet. Look, awesome, awesome. I love that. Let me see if I can make some noise right quick. Let me see. Hold on. See where the noise maker's at. Can y'all hear that? Can y'all hear that noise? That's for everybody out here doing their thing. Yep. So wait as me says, Brenda, hey, that's so wonderful. Yes. I'm excited for you, Brenda. Could y'all hear the applause? Mill says, Miss Brenda, I've been researching red light therapy that may help the pain you experience from arthritis. It's helping a lot of people. Brenda is a freaking warrior princess. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about red light therapy on here on one of the Curious for Kims, because Mill had kind of mentioned a little bit of it about it. So we kind of talked about that on one of those ones when I went on that 7 days, you know, Curious with Kim venture, yep, in January. So yeah, we talked about that a little bit. If you want to go look back at that. Also, yeah, I think real life therapy is really, really good. It's helping a lot of people with a lot of different things. So yeah. But do y'all have any more questions about insulin resistance tonight? Let me know in the chat. Any more questions about it? And then also, let me see what else I want to ask. Let me think. Mm, okay, so let me just ask you this. When it comes to health, like when did y'all start, taking your health seriously? That would be a good question to ask. When did you start taking your health seriously? When you got on this, your like say for instance, those on have this on a GLP-1, is it when you got on a GLP-1? Is that when you started taking the health seriously, or or at least trying to research about what's going on with your body, or going to the doctors and things like that? When did you start taking that health like seriously, versus just, oh, I want to lose weight? Mia says, okay, I got you. Yep, taking blood. Blood is so important. Yes, blood. The using a regular glucometer to check, for your A1, I mean, for your sugar glucose or your blood glucose levels, yes, you want to make sure that you prick that finger. That's the most accurate reading because it's checking your blood. Okay. And that's through the blood is how, doctors actually check, to make sure if we're healthy or not healthy. Yes, that's true, Mia. Definitely make sure you take that. Even if you wear a CGM, it's still recommended to have a glucometer, close by. You don't have to use it all the time because you do have that CGM on. That's, if you're using that Freestyle Libre, you're talking, it's taking your blood glucose readings every minute, okay, of the day. So yeah, but say if for some reason, you get that alarm sound, that loud, loud, loud alarm sound at some part of the day, and that's trying to, let you know, hey, your blood glucose is going under 70 milligrams per deciliter, then you want to make sure you eat a simple sugar, and so so you can get it to go back up, as well as once you eat that sugar or that carb, um, then you want to make sure that you are you're checking your blood. And I would check it definitely at that point. I would check it with my glucometer. If I was wearing a CGM, I would definitely be checking it with my glucometer. I'm going to check it just period, because sometimes with CGMs it does give you false alarms. And then I'm going to also check it, when it's time. If I'm checking it like the every 15 minutes, I'm going to make sure I'm checking it with the glucometer. So it's very important to make sure you have your regular glucometer, have your lancets, have your strips, your test strips. Make sure you have those, even if you're using a CGM most of the time. Okay, so Grant says, just for wimps like me, too painful to do all the time. So CGM is a good substitute most of the time. Correct. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, it's still a very very good tool to use. CGMs are very good to use. I think so. I use it myself. We talked about it a little bit, when I was talking to Grant on Sugar Talks, my Sugar Talk series. Yes, I think it's very good, especially for people who are, very new to diabetes. Good to use that if your doctor allows you to, because you don't have to keep pricking that finger all the time. When I was in the hospital, it had my fingers like blue because they check it every so many hours, just to make sure my sugar level was going down to where it should be. And oh my gosh, my fingers was hurting, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can you not stick me no more? But they had to do it to make sure, like I said, whatever they were however they were treating me, to make sure it go down, that was working, and see like how much insulin I really need, or not need, and things of that nature. So yeah, definitely good to have a CGM if you're scared of that needle, or if the needle hurts your fingers. Sometimes the position, like I know when I was putting it on the side, which is what they normally use, the side of your finger, that was hurting my finger. So I said, can you please just, hit me on right in the middle, because that's where most of the meat is or whatever. So that helped me a lot, be able to bear, the sticking of the the glucose testing in the hospital. But normally at home, like for me, they told me to do mine when I first came out, 3 times a day. So um, at least 3 times a day. So yeah, that's how I had to do mine, which is a lot. All right, so Miss Brenda says the alarm went off today and woke my husband right up out of sleep. Right, baby. When I say I'll wake you up, the husband up, everybody in the house will be woke with all this noise. Okay, the cats, the dogs, the fish, all of it. That thing's so loud. Blood sugar was below 68. Yes. Yeah. So I'm sure Miss Brenda, he knew to go and get him some fast acting simple carbs. A lot of people get some people use the like some orange juice or apple juice, things like that, something that's real sweet. Some people get sodas. They'll grab a regular, say, Coca-Cola or Sprite or something like that. It has a lot of sugar in it. You just want to get something in you fast so that it can hurry up and go back up, because you don't want to go under, a certain milligram per deciliter. Or then that means you need to go to the hospital, because you can go into a coma. You can fall into a coma if it goes down too far. So it's definitely very important to make sure that you're watching those sugars, especially if you're diabetic. But even for those who are not diabetic, I've been hearing a lot of people say that they have had experience, low sugars, on a weight loss journey, and they're not even diabetic. So that's another reason, again, why I want to talk to everybody about it. It's not just for the diabetic folk, it's for every one of us, just to know what's going on and what can happen in our bodies. All right, Mia says, live a totally different life, not focus on food for enjoyment, more for fuel. Yes, but I draw the line now of eating crappy food just to get in macros. I have to enjoy my choices and enjoy my substitutions. Correct. Yes, Mia, that's awesome, 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 awesome. Y'all didn't tell me if y'all heard the applause that I did for Miss Brenda. Cookie says, "Scare Brenda. I guess it was a true reading, huh?" Yep. Real for you, Mia. Yes, isn't that's awesome? Brenda says, "When my husband was in the hospital, every time they checked his blood sugar from the finger, we compared the Libre reading to the regular glucometer. Libre on average was off 10 to 20 points, but it's then nothing. And if it wasn't for Libre, my husband wouldn't even check. Right. So that's another reason why it's good. When you scared to use, or not scared, but when you don't want to use that glucometer, or you're not going to be consistent with using it like you're supposed to, like they have recommended, that's another reason why it's good to have a continuous glucose monitor. Not only does it help you, kind of determine, what makes your sugar go up and how far it goes up when you eat a certain thing, but how long it takes to go back down, how long comes up as well as go down, really. It also can help those who are not going to check their sugar all the time. I don't care what the doctor say, it's still, they don't want to check it. They want to be hard headed, and that's okay. So that CGM definitely helps. Yes. And when you do the glucometer, you're actually, it's checking your blood right that moment. So, an hour from now, it might be something totally different. It's more than likely going to be something totally different. So with that being said, with that glucometer, the continuous glucometer that we use, or a lot of diabetics use, yeah, at least that's checking every minute. I don't know what the Dexcom. I don't know if it's every 3 minutes, every 5 minutes, but I know the Libre is every minute it checks. Okay, so Brenda says, I keep the high protein diabetic shakes in the refrigerator at all times. Okay, great. So she used that, the high protein diabetic shakes. Okay, cool. What is your high protein diabetic shake, Miss Brenda? And does it have a lot of sugar in it? Because when you have low sugars, especially depending on how low they go. I think if that is my opinion. Read the bottom of the thing. It's not. I'm not a doctor, but say if it's 68. If I find out my sugar is 68, I'm just gonna go and eat my regular food. But I'm gonna hurry up and get there. I'm gonna beeline it real quick to that kitchen to get me some food in my belly. Okay. And then I don't care about the order at that point. I'm just, as far as the normal order that I use, by eating vegetables first, eating a spoonful of vegetables or so, and then my, carb or whatever, I make sure, or, spoonful of protein and the carb. I just make sure that I go ahead and get me, something in my body, liquid form or whatever, so that I can get that sugar back up over 70. And then but I eat my regular food. But like if it goes under 68, then that's when I'm like, maybe at 65, I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and definitely, chug a little, some kind of drink or something, so that I can, something that's just simple carbs, like straight sugar, so that that stuff can go back up. Because again, it can be falling rapidly, and if it does, you just don't want it to go too far low. You don't have that much space. You don't have that much room to go low, and you don't want to pass out, and you don't want to go in a coma. So you got to be careful with that. Definitely careful. Mia says, I didn't get so big without having a horrible relationship with food. I had to cut my final ties of addiction because I do have addiction in my bones. Not in your bones, Mia, but I'm definitely learning coping. I'm looking to see if she had something else she say. So before the CGM, diabetes would check sugar 6 to 8 times a day. Oh no, that's not it. I don't have nothing to do with that. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me go back up then. All right. So hello, JMS Harris. How you doing? How you doing, J Harris? If anyone uses the Libre 3 Plus, have you experienced a lot of false lows? So I don't use the Libre 3 right now. I did use the Libre 3. That's before they came out with the Plus. I was having false lows at times, normally more so when I was, when I first actually changed it and put another one in. That's when it seemed like it took a couple of days to kind of recalibrate, I guess, or get used to it being in my arm or whatever they call it. But yeah, I did have some false lows then. One night it was like it rung 8 times. I was about to just throw it up, get out my and just throw it across the wall. It was so irritating. I'm trying to sleep and I could not get no sleep because it kept going low. And when I check it with my blood glucometer, my regular glucometer, it was just like, why is this thing, ringing like crazy? So I had to call Libre and be like, listen, I don't know what's going on, but I got to sleep. Yeah. But I know Grant used it. Grant uses a Libre 3 Plus. All right, Brenda says, yeah, I almost collapsed twice since being on Zepbound from low blood sugars because I forgot to eat. See? And so, like, especially for those who are on GLP-1 medication, yes, sometimes, or even have, had weight loss surgery, sometimes, you just don't want to eat or forget to eat or what have you. Even people that don't have, I've heard people, that not on any kind of anything, and they have, they were working so much or whatever, and then sometimes it slips their mind, oh well, it's 4 o'clock, I haven't even eat yet, whatever. But they don't have low blood sugars, they don't have they may, if they're not, dealing with the low blood sugars, then it may not hurt them because of course, people do intermittent fast. But yeah, you have to be careful. Even on Zepbound, if you're on a Zepbound, you still have to be careful with that. I heard. Okay, good. Thank you, Cookie. Thank you, honey, for telling me. My goodness. All right. So Grant says, mainly just at night when laying on it. Have to try and lay on opposite side. Okay. Thank you, Grant, for that. Yeah. And that's what I would always do. I make sure whatever arm I have it on, I make sure I lay the opposite side. That's how I was doing when I had the 3 bay using that CGM. But I'm gonna get me another one this year. Yep. All right. At least for a month. I'm gonna do it at least for a month, and we'll see how it goes from there. Brenda says, "Oh yes, thank goodness for the Libre 3." Right. Yes. Yes. All right. Hello, Jerlene. Thanks for coming in. I'm happy you were able to come in tonight. Good evening. Hope you're doing well. All right, Mia says, so before the CGM, diabetics would check sugar 6 to 8 times a day. That's a lot of sticks. No, I don't know about 6 to 8 times. Some people, their doctor tell them to do 6 to 8 times a day, but no, I didn't have to do 3. They want me to do 3. So they did my prescription. They said 3 times a day. Yep. And that's for the 3 meals that I was, going to eat: breakfast, lunch, dinner. But I'm not sure if anybody's doing it 6 times a day. Mm-mm. All right. Grant says exactly. All right. Let's see who else. All right. So Vanessa says, when my mom was here during the holidays, hers kept going off at night. It was really low. It was reading low. For 2 nights, we were thinking it was low, but it wasn't. There was a recall on her the ones, what is it called, the batch, the batch that she had, there were there were recalls on it. So yeah, I do remember them sending an email to us to let us know they had some recalls on a certain batch. So also Vanessa says, I realized something. um okay, not sure why. Yeah, I wish they would let you finish your thought. They only give you so many characters before it cuts you off. But yeah, okay. Thank you for letting us know that, and sharing that with us, Vanessa. All right, Mia says, "Oh, I wanted to tell you guys, I walked today with my cane. Oh, awesome! Look at you. I'm not in a real shoe yet, but hope to be in one next week. Awesome, Mia. So you are coming along very well. That's great, great, great stuff. Great stuff, honey. Yes. All right. Let's see what's next. Okay, so Grant says orange juice and peanut butter crackers are my go-to when my sugar drops. Okay, yes. So make sure you get that orange juice in first, and then you can, add them peanut butter crackers too, or cookies or whatever. Add them afterwards. But definitely make sure you get that orange juice in, because that liquid sugar, that's liquid gold to us. If our sugars go down. All right. Grant says that's great meal progress. Great progress. Yes. All right, Brenda says boost. Oh, okay, glucose control. All right, 4 grams of sugar, but we also keep high sugar things in the diabetic toolkit as well if need it. But my husband was warned by the doctor that sugar climbing too fast is also dangerous. It is, but well, I get that's his doctor. That's what he said, and he stands on it. Okay, good. Especially because he has serious heart issues. Gotcha, gotcha. And see, that lets you know right there. It just depends on what's going on in each of our bodies, right? Some people can do it, some people can't, right? And so, like for me, again, if I'm at 68, I'm not gonna go crazy, gorge out over the, sugars of it all. I'm just gonna make sure I get something in, and then I'm gonna eat my regular meal. Just like Grant was saying, he'll drink orange juice, but then he'll also eat peanut butter crackers, which is still kind of making sure that those numbers will go up crazy high. Because those peanut butter that's in the peanut butter crackers is going to help him. It's going to still go up, a good bit, but it's not going to like spike it too much. So that's kind of how I do. Like if it's like I said, if it's like 68, but say if it was like at 65, I'm going to go ahead on. I'm not going to drink a whole say if I drink Coca-Cola, okay. I'm not going to drink a whole 12-ounce soda, right? You're only supposed to try to get 15 carbs per 15 minutes. Okay. You don't have to like gorge out on it. It's just 15 carbs. So it's like 4 ounces is good. That'll be good, to start off with, and check yourself every 15 minutes just to making sure it's going up, to a certain number. Your doctor will let you know that. And then, you can make sure after that you go ahead and put something with it to balance it out, which is your protein or a fiber or a fat that will help balance it out and not let it spike too much. Okay. Because when you think about it, when it's time, if it's going to take some time to go up, it ain't just going to be like boom from 50 to 3,000. It's not going to do that, in 2 seconds. It's not. It takes time. Even with you drinking a regular drink, it's going to take some time. So, yeah, that's why we're going to check our with the regular glucose monitor. You check that those blood glucose levels every 15 minutes is what is recommended, until you make sure it gets up to a certain point, is well in a safe range, and then you want to make sure you're pairing it with some protein, fiber, or a healthy fat. Yeah, Libre can be faulty. You're right. So some people like Dexcoms. I'm not sure if Dexcoms is having just as many issues as the Libres, as far as the false Um, let me see. Okay, so it says that Dexcoms also have significantly reported people that are using it. Um, there are significant reported issues regarding false or inaccurate readings with Dexcom 6 and 7s as well. As a matter of fact, they have lawsuits and FDA reports indicating complaints about inaccurate readings, including false lows and highs, with some analyses suggested higher rates of complaints compared to competitors. And I'm looking up something else right quick. Remember, this is Curious with Kim. Hold on. Let's see. So both Dexcom G7 and Freestyle Libre 3 are highly accurate, but users report and studies show different tendencies for false readings. Libre 3 tends to have a higher percentage of false low alerts, 15% adults, 26% kids, compared to Dexcom G7, 13% adults, 19% kids. However, Libre 3 Plus shows better accuracy in some with lower false high alerts, 2% versus 4%. All right, so false lows studies indicate that the Libre 3 systems have a significantly higher rate of false low alerts compared to the Dexcom 7. False highs, Dexcom G7 has a slightly higher percentage of false high alerts, 4% compared to the Libre 3 Plus, 2%. Accuracy, um, lower mean absolute relative difference, that's MARD, means higher accuracy. While both are similar, some studies found the Freestyle Libre 3 has a lower, better MARD, 8.9%, compared to the Dexcom G7, 13.6%. Other data suggests Dexcom G7 15-day is slightly more accurate, 8.8%, excuse me, MARD, 8% MARD. Then the Libre 3 Plus, 8.2% MARD. User experience, some users on the forums reported that while Dexcom G7 can be off, it allows for calibration to correct errors, whereas in some cases the Libre 3 might report persistent inaccurate readings. And see, mine was persistent. It just kept going on and on and on. So they say the initial 24 to 48 hours, both systems can be less accurate during the first day of use, which is I was saying earlier, with MARD values often higher during this period. Sensor location. Proper placement on the back of the upper arm is crucial for both, as impaired insertion can lead to false readings. So if you put it in wrong, you can also have false readings. But ultimately, both symptoms are generally reliable, and the choice often comes down to individual preference, the specific model, and how the user's body reacts to the sensor. Okay. And that was from Snack. It's SNAQ. Okay. And there's some other, things as well. Very Well Health, as well as Skin Grip. And then also Dexcom 3, and then National Institutes of Health, those, and, has given me this information. That's where I got the information from. All right. All right, so Mill says, yeah, I've been in rehab a few times, but honestly, this journey of getting my weight under control has brought me such great people into my life. It brought such great people into her life. I look forward to interacting, with, and now my youngest son has started coming around to help me. That's been a gift from God because He has a lot of problems with me from the past actions. That's so wonderful, Mia. I'm so excited for you. That's a blessing. That is a blessing. Thank God for that. Told you, keep showing up. Keep showing up. Keep doing what you promised to do. Keep, taking care of yourself, and things will work out. Things will come around. Things will turn around for you. Yes. And that's for all of us. That's for all of us. Consistency is key. Consistency, persistence, and consistency. Creating better habits, better disciplines. That's what's going to help us, on this better health journey. Yep. And that's mind, body, spirit, and soul. Okay, that's what relationships. Yes. All right, Brenda says, my husband was instructed to do it 6 times a day. He did it twice and quit. Yeah, that's a lot. Just 6 times is a lot, you know. So it's probably morning, evening, and then 3 times, whatever his 3 meals are, maybe. I'm assuming, and maybe a snack time. Yep. I can see it happening, but that is a lot. That'll make you not want to do it. That's a lot. I would definitely have that Libre on all the time. Wow, Mia, you've been through a lot for sure. Thankfully, your son is coming around. Yes. Yes. Keep up the good work, Mia. Keep up the good work. Thank God for reconciliation. Yep. Thank God for reconciliation. Vanessa says, was wrong. Oh, okay, so that's what she was saying. Let me see. Hold up. So Miss Vanessa, when she was talking about her mom having, issues with her CGM when she was, at her house for the holidays, she was having low blood levels, low blood sugars, the readings anyway, with the CGM. Yeah, they were wrong. And so she pricked her finger, and that's what you should do, Vanessa. That's exactly what you should do. When you hear the alarm, if you can, you go ahead and prick that finger. But you may want to beeline it to the refrigerator to get a little something first. Some people keep their stuff right at the nightstand, right at their nightstand, so they won't have to jump up, and go. They can just grab something out their nightstand and take it. You know, you can use glucose tabs. They can have glucose gels. You can, like I said, do orange juice or some kind of hard candy that helps you get that blood sugar up a little quicker. But make sure you're pairing it with something, so it won't rise too much. But you definitely want it to be well back in that range that it should be in. All right, so Meal says my estimation was checking before meal and after meal, or if there was issues. I'm just trying to see if I can handle taking it as much as I would need to get solid information for myself. Yes. Now, Mia, it depends on what information you're trying to get for yourself. So say if you just want to know your fasting glucose levels, then of course you check it in the morning. That will give you your fasting glucose because you've fasted all night, while you're sleeping. And then when you wake up, boom, you take your fasting glucose. That is when I normally take mine, check mine every day is at my fasting glucose, just to see what that is. And then I move accordingly throughout the day. I make sure I'm eating 3 to 4 hours, try to make sure I eat something. If I'm, for some reason, wanting to exercise, which I do something every day, I at least do walking every day. I need to make sure that I'm eating the sugar, getting enough carbs in good carbs in so that I, have enough energy to actually do the workout that I'm trying to do. Especially if I'm walking fast. Okay, good. Thank you, Vanessa. All right. So Cookie said, Vanessa Grace, thank you. Thankfully, there were false readings. Yes, thank you. They were false readings. Yes. All right. So Brenda says 6 times as before you eat, when you first wake up, and after each meal. Okay. So they want you to do before and after. Well, when you wake up in the morning, before and after a meal, and then at night. Yep, before bed. Okay. And hubby refused. Yes. I got you. Yeah. When I first started, that's why I was like, yeah, let me go and get that CGM. Yeah. Let me go ahead and do it. I was talking to my sister about it, and I was like, I don't know about that either. Putting that thing in my arm, having a foreign object in my arm at all, all the time. That was weird to me. Of course, I was still in shock of having diabetes. Getting that diagnosis and it being up to 15.1, the A1C. I'm like, oh my gosh. Um, I was just kicking and screaming, really, about all of it, because I was in shock at first. But yeah, I was like, think about it, pick it. She's like, you know how those things hurting your fingers now, Kim J. Yeah, you might want to do that. So I went on and did it, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. I thought it was gonna be hurt. I didn't know how it was gonna be, so I said, let me go on. Yeah, I want to keep using this, and I used it until I got my A1C back down to the normal range. Grant says I don't blame him honestly. Right? Yeah, especially 6 times a day. Oh my gosh. So Miss Jolene says congratulations, Mia. Mia says, yes, Grant, I've lived a hard, fast life. Now I'm trying to do totally different. Yeah, so she's trying to do totally opposite, honey, of that fast life. She's more chill, taking care of business, handling what she need to handle. Yes, learning from her, past mistakes, or, just doing a lot of reflection on herself so that she can do better. So she can, like I said, live her sweet, healthy life so that she won't go back to smoking, so that she won't turn back to, the things that she did before that may not have served her best. Breaking old habits and staying consistent is what she's doing now. She's breaking old habits and staying consistent. All right. Cookie says, Brenda, that does sound like too much of an inconvenience. Thank God for the CGM. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. All right, Mia says, and I can look in the mirror and know I'm not ashamed of what I've done today or didn't do. Yes. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Look, that's for you. That's for you, girl. Absolutely, Grant says. All right, let's see. Thanks for listening, Boogie Pie. All right, Brenda says, yeah, Libre 3 is a pain. There's been a few recalls, but hubby insurance covers it. And if he didn't have a Libre 3, he wouldn't use anything so faulty. Libre 3 it is. Yep, gotcha. All right, Darren says, I was in the bushes. Hello to all that I have not spoken to. Right, tens, yeah. Okay, let's see. Let's see. I'm just trying to go through the chat and see who is. All right. So Grant says, good thing is that Dexcom and Libre both are good about replacing faulty sensors and no additional cost. Yes, thank you, Grant, for that. And if y'all are even more interested in the CGMs, y'all can go and look at my first episode of Sugar Talks. That was, I think, 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks ago now? Yes, go check it out. I greatly appreciate it. Actually, Grant, for those who are on here or listening in the bushes, Grant wore two CGMs at one point in time, the Dexcom G7 as well as these Freestyle Libre Plus, and he shared some information about that on that Sugar Talks episode. Go check it out. It's like 2 Thursdays ago. So Darren says that's good, Grant. Yes. All right. Darren says, and call them for any and all malfunctions too. Yes. Yes. Like I said, I called them because I'm like 8 times was ridiculous. Like, I want to get some sleep. Now I'm cranky, moody, look, and sleepy. Had to call them with the quickness. As soon as I knew they were available, they had opened. Mia says, yeah, and they did send me a free CGM. Mia says, yes, praise God for that grant. Absolutely, Grant says. Brenda says, hi, Jolene. I'm sorry I put glasses down and now I can't find them. That be me, Brenda, all the time. I'm like, where's my glasses? Where are my glasses? And see, they're dark colored. And then I have a lot of black, furniture. So, honey, these things, it's like chameleons, and they just blend in with the furniture. So I don't be knowing where them things at. Mia says, I really don't know when to take readings and why to take them except eating times. Yeah, I would take, because you don't have diabetes, Mia. Maybe you could take it like not all the time though. Not you don't need it every day, I don't think. Maybe when something that you may say, oh, this is real carby, let me check. you know, um, to see if the blood, because say if you're not eating no carby foods, then your blood sugars are not gonna go up a lot. So you're not gonna really have nothing to test. It's gonna be kind of the same unless you do that once just to kind of see, about that, just to see the experience that. But yeah, you don't have to check it all the time because you're not diabetic. But if you want to just do some testing, there's nothing wrong with that. But I would just like maybe before a meal and after a meal, but I wouldn't do it every day or every meal. Yeah, because you don't have diabetes issues. So just to see, okay, I'm eating this carby meal today. Let me check, and see how it goes. And if you're pre-planning for it, or like say you go out to eat, you may say, well, let me check that, and so you check it before, to get a baseline, and then you check it, like 60 to 90 minutes after, and see if it's gone back down to that baseline that it was before, you ate the food. Jolene King says, I enjoyed the recipes for the pot pies. I went to the store and purchased Marie Calendar, got home and didn't want store bought, but I don't have a shelf. Thank you, Miss Jolene, for looking at that pot pie. Yes, that was me and Felicia Marie B. We did a pot pie together. Just some comfort food for the soul, honey. Yes, because, it's about mind, body, spirit, and soul for us. And so, yes, we had to give some soul food. I'm happy you enjoyed our video, Jolene. Cookie says, I heard that applause again. I know that's right. I'm happy instead of having to be like, which I like doing too. So you might get a little bit of both. Mill says, I've heard your blood glucose can signal the best time for me to exercise. It can. So like, but I don't check it then. I don't. Like I said, if you got that CGM, it's going to check per minute anyway if you do the Libre. So if you want to check like a lot, at first, Mia, then yes, a CGM probably is better for you. It may be better if you can get your hands on one. I know doctors normally don't prescribe it for people that are not diabetic, especially not insulin. You don't have insulin and stuff that you're taking. But I would say, yeah, if you can get your hands on a CGM, I would definitely use that if you want to check a lot. But like, if you just want to check certain things, like when I eat a carby meal, that would be great. Like I said earlier, at my fasting, time, when you first wake up, that would be good. So you can know that number. Yeah. So I would probably do that first and then, proceed on like, one-offs, not like every lunch, every dinner, every breakfast. Nah. That's me, though. That's in my opinion. All right, Brenda says, yeah, I didn't blame him. I tried doing 3 times in a day just to see how it would be, and it really hurt. Yes, it does. It start hurting your fingers. But I do have, and I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to go and grab it real quick. I have for those who are checking their sugars a lot. And I got it from somebody in our community. I'm going to let y'all know who. I didn't even tell her that I got it yet from her. So I was going to do a video on it. Actually, I did a little video. I had to put it out, but just showing you that I'm using it. Brenda says, yes, my husband had to replace the sensor twice, and they replaced it. No problem. Good. All right, let me hold on for a minute, y'all. This here, baby. This right here, Pimp. I got them from Amazon, and you barely feel it. You barely feel it. The pinch or the little prick or whatever. Love them, honey. So what you do is you're gonna twist the cap. It's a little cap. So the little white cap, you twist it off, and then this here has the needle in it, and so you'll just push the blue on your finger, push it kind of hard on your finger, and then you'll not hard, but you know what I mean, push it in your finger, and then it'll come out. The needle will come out. Very, very easy. barely hurts, or don't hurt at all. Really, for me, it don't hurt at all. But some people that's very sensitive, yeah, this is good. And you know who I found out about this from? Miss Reset with Anissa. When she said that one day she used it on one of her videos, and see it says sensitive skin. So if you have sensitive skin, this is a good tool to use if you're checking your sugars with the regular glucometer. And I'm just going to show y'all my glucometer. This is the regular one. Of course, it's hard to see this part here. But yeah, this is the one I use. One Touch Vero Flex. So it's VERIO Flex. And it has an app to it, which I've showed you all in some of my shorts and I think even my regular videos. Here's the Lancet here. This is a little Lancet. So you put your blood on that. And that goes into the glucose monitor. And I'll show you the those Lancets, they're single Lancet, and they give you this little case too in this box. So you get like 100 Lancets and you get this here. You can put them in here if you like. And then, but this here goes with my glucometer as well. So here you'll put the little thing in here. It's a little cap that goes on it, and that's the needle, the Lancet. And then you unscrew the cap and you pull it back so it can, get stuck, so it can stick in there. And then you put it on your finger and then you click the little button. And then the needle will go into your finger, come back out real quick. That one, it can't hurt because it's a regular needle. Yeah, so it can't hurt you. Some people it hurt. It don't really hurt me now because I don't do it as much. But yeah, once I found out about these pips, honey, and start using them, I don't use this no more. I don't even think I have I don't think I even have a Lancet to show y'all. I think I ran out of all of them. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think I ran out of all of them. And this is the little top that goes on. This is the top that goes on the thing. So you won't see the actual needle. So that's why you got to click this little button and it comes out of the hole if you want to use that. And I will use it sometimes, but like I said, not often. But I done ran out of them. So, and then this year they decided that I could not get any more. My insurance company is not paying for the Vero strips anymore and the Lancets. So I got to go to what is it? Something. Hold on. AccuCheck. And I'm going to get the AccuCheck guide. So yeah, I'm going to have that. All right. So yeah, if for some reason y'all have issues with the finger pricks, this is a sensitive one. Put it up there just in case. Sensitive skin. If you have sensitive skin, this is what you may want to buy. I'm not telling you to buy, but you may want to check it out. You still do your, instead of using like I said, the this here, then you would use this. Very easy peasy. And then, you still do the same thing. You pull, once it's prick your finger, you get the blood to come out, and then you use one of the regular strips, put the strip in here, and then it'll start reading it for you. The only thing this is taking place of is this thing right here. Okay. Hello, Coffee, no cream. Thanks for coming in, sweetheart. Cookie J says, Kim J, you have any of the pot pie left? No, girl, when I say that thing was gone, quick. I bet y'all knocked it out in 1 day, 2 days, stop. Right. Yep. Let me see. 2 days. Was it 2 days? Well, it was 2 days because we didn't eat it the next day. We ate it, the following. Because sometimes you know how like we'll go out to eat or something like that, and so we just hold it off to the next day. Brenda says she laughing. I do that with my phone too, and we have a black couch, and I can't see it. I'm laughing now, but cussing like a sailor when it happens. Right? Exactly. Hope you found them. Vanessa says I have to go back and comment. Thank you, Vanessa. She said hello, Kim Jan chat. That's coffee, no cream. Thanks for coming in, sweetheart. So today we were talking about I have diabetes, coffee, no cream, just in case don't remember. I know you've been over to my channel, you subscribe to me, we subscribe to each other, really, and I thank you for that. But yeah, I have diabetes, and I talk about insulin resistance because I want to make sure that the Sweet Life Squad, my subs, know a little bit more about it, even if they do not have diabetes. It's good because sometimes people are insulin resistant years before they actually develop diabetes. So we're just talking about that tonight. And now we're talking about like CGMs and pricking your finger, or to check your blood sugars, or you're wearing a continuous glucose monitor, that little white thing that you see sometimes people have in the back of their arm. Yeah, for those who don't know. Vanessa says I have to try those. Yep. Hello, how you doing? How you doing? Thanks for coming in. Hello, Bossway. Thanks for coming in. Giving Hadreen some love. Everybody some love. Only $12. That's not bad. Yep. And I got the one where I can get 300. I got 3 boxes of hundreds. Yep. Everybody just saying hi to one another. I'm just going through the chat. I like the thought of no veggies in a pot pie, Grant says. No, Grant, eat you some veggies. Eat them veggies. Oh my God. I'm learning a lot. Thank you, Coffee No Cream. I'm happy you're here and you're learning. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yep. I love researching stuff, Coffee No Cream. So Miss Felicia Marie B, the one that's in my that's on my screen right now, that's my girl, and so we do a lot of things together on our channels. We kind of flip back and forth. Sometimes I do something with her on my channel. Sometimes she does something. We do something together on her channel. But yeah, we just did a chicken pot pie together. But yeah, we are, when we talk about a lot of things, we talk all the time. But when we talk about stuff, she doesn't. She's on Zepbound. She's on a weight loss journey or a better health journey, and I'm on Manjaro for diabetes. And so also on a weight loss journey and all better health and everything. And so yeah, we get together a lot of times, and her dad has diabetes, so she's very curious about things, and that's how we started talking a lot more, and us being in our GLP-1 community. And so yeah, she was like, "Ooh, you always looking up stuff, Kim. Why don't you do Curious with Kim?" And so I was like, "Yeah, that would be great. I would." So so I thought about it or whatever, and since I always research anyway, why not? Because even on these lives, before I started the series with Curious with Kim, I would look up something in a heartbeat. Like I want to make sure we got the right answer. So yeah, that's what I would do. And so she was like, "That would be awesome for you, Kim." So sometimes we, bounce things off of each other or what have you, and we're, enjoying ourselves here on YouTube, the YouTube platform. But yeah, yeah, yes, I stay curious, right? So our conversation, one day recently, we were talking about, people with insulin resistance. I don't know if you noticed, like some people have like a little hump at the back of their neck, like from the at the end of their neck, and maybe like going towards their back itself, and then maybe a little small hump, not nothing big, but a little small hump. And it may have like some, it feels like some fat is there, extra skin or extra fat or something in it. And so, yeah, we found out that it could be because of insulin resistance. And so that's what she was like, when you going to do the hump, the back hump conversation, with Curious to Kim. And I was like, well, I don't want to just talk about the back hump. And I said, like, so I decided to, it came to me, let's talk about insulin resistance tonight because that's what it's all about. That hump actually could be considered insulin resistance. And so I wanted to, talk to everybody about just insulin resistance in itself because you can have insulin resistance and not be diabetic or pre-diabetic. So yeah. But anyway, y'all, I'm gonna let you all go for tonight. I thank you all for coming in. I greatly appreciate you for coming in. If you have not hit the like button, please hit it. If you want to share this out with someone that you love that may need to hear it, go ahead and do that for me. I greatly appreciate it. If you have not subscribed to Kim J Sweet Healthy Life, y'all go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell too, because I do have more to come. Yes. All right. Felicia says, I wish I would have had a picture of neck hump before it disappeared now. Right. Yeah. Yes. So very informative lives. We'll share. Thank you so much, Coffee No Cream. I greatly appreciate it. Definitely. All right. So if all hearts and minds are clear tonight, ladies and gents, I will see you all the next time. Peace. Have a great rest of your week.